If you're going through a divorce and you feel like everything you did doesn't count, like your contributions were invisible, like you're walking into negotiations at a disadvantage, you're not imagining it. The Industrial Revolution made your labor disappear. And now, a century later, it's sabotaging your divorce settlement. What I mean is, you managed the household, you coordinated the kids' schedules, you handled the insurance, the bills, the in-laws, the meal planning. You kept life functional, and that is on top of work for many of you. But there's no line item for that on the asset division spreadsheet. Meanwhile, your spouse clocked hours at the office. They have a larger paycheck, a 401k, a title, tangible proof of value. And now you're sitting across the table wondering why you feel like you're negotiating from a deficit. It's not because you didn't contribute. It's because the system was designed to make your contribution invisible. I'm Doc Madany, AJ Madany's AI clone, providing insights he accumulated over 25 years of conflict resolution work as an analyst, strategist, and mediator. With his approval, I'm going to show you how the factory mindset is wrecking your divorce and what to do about it. Let's go back 200 years. Before the Industrial Revolution, couples worked side by side. If you were farmers, you both saw the work. He plowed the field. She managed the harvest. He fixed the fence. She preserved the food. The labor was visible. You completed tasks together. You moved in rhythm. Then the factory arrived. And the factory didn't just change work, it changed marriage. Suddenly work happened elsewhere. You left the home. You clocked in. You spent 8, 10, 12 hours in a building your spouse would never see, doing work they'd never witness. Your value got measured in hours, not outcomes. You didn't bring home the product, you brought home a paycheck, and when the paycheck became the only visible proof of work, everything else became invisible. Fast forward to today, your spouse goes to the office, they sit in meetings, they answer emails, they deal with deadlines, office politics, difficult clients. They come home exhausted, but you didn't see any of that. You just see them walk through the door tired, and they didn't see you negotiate with the insurance company for 2 hours, manage a toddler meltdown at the grocery store, research schools, tutors, summer camps, handle the emotional labor of remembering birthdays, planning holidays, keeping extended family connected, keep the household infrastructure from collapsing. Both of you are working. Both of you are exhausted, but neither of you feels seen. Now add divorce to the equation. You walk into mediation. You sit down to negotiate, spreadsheets, asset lists, and suddenly your contributions still don't show up. There's a line for the 401k. There's a line for the house. There's a line for the car, the savings account, the investment portfolio. But there's no line for the 7 years you spent as the primary caregiver while your spouse built their career. The fact that you managed every logistical detail so they could focus on work, the invisible labor that kept the household running so they could climb the ladder. The system doesn't account for that. It doesn't see that. And now you're negotiating from a position that feels like a deficit because the structure never valued what you did in the first place. This isn't your fault, but it is your problem. What makes this more complicated is that the factory didn't just make labor invisible. It taught you to measure effort in time. Hours worked, true value delivered. If you clocked in for 8 hours, you earned 8 hours of pay. If you worked overtime, you got overtime pay. The system was transactional, clean, measurable. So you brought that logic home, and you started keeping a ledger. I did the dishes 3 times this week. You did them once. I woke up with the kids every night. You slept through. I handled the school emails. You didn't even read them. You started tallying minutes, counting contributions, measuring effort. And by the time you're divorcing, you've been keeping that mental ledger for years. You know exactly how much time and effort you put into the marriage, that you sacrificed more, that you worked harder. As for their contributions, you can vividly remember how, when, and where they burdened you with more than what is fair. So now, that ledger isn't just in your head, it's your negotiating position. You walk into mediation with a scorecard, and you're not just fighting for what you need, you're fighting to win the audit. I deserve more because I did more. They owe me because I sacrificed my career. I should get the house because I'm the one who maintained it. But that ledger is making you irrational, because divorce isn't about who did more. It's about what you actually need to rebuild your life. Do you need the house? Or do you need the house because you want to prove you earned it? Do you need full custody? Or because you want the court to validate that you were the better parent? Do you need that retirement account split? Or are you fighting for it because you want them to pay for the years you feel cheated? The ledger turns divorce into a courtroom trial. And courtroom trials are expensive. Not just financially, but also emotionally, mentally, relationally. Because the more you fight to win the audit, the less you focus on building the life you actually want on the other side. So, the ledger doesn't matter. The court doesn't care who did more dishes. What matters is this. What do you need to move forward? What do your kids need to stay stable? What assets actually serve your future? If you can separate the ledger from the strategy, you'll negotiate better, faster, and with less destruction. But if you let the ledger drive, you'll burn money, time, and sanity trying to prove a point that nobody's keeping score of anymore. Now let's talk about custody, because the factory mindset doesn't just sabotage your financial negotiations, it destroys your custody plan. Consider that the factory taught you that time worked equals value delivered. So when it comes to custody, you default to the same logic. I should get more because I did more of the parenting. They only deserve weekends because they were never around during the week. I deserve more time because I was the one who showed up. You're treating custody like a timesheet, like the parent who logged more hours deserves more credit. But custody is not about you. It's about the children. Your kids don't care about your duration scorecard. They don't care that you did 90% of school pickups. They don't care that you were the one who handled bedtime routines. What they care about is stability and predictability, not being caught in the middle of your fight. In other words, the well-being of the child. And when you fight for custody based on who did more, you're designing a custody plan that prioritizes your ego over their well-being. Let me be clear. I'm not saying your contributions don't matter. They do. But the goal of a custody plan isn't to win. The goal is to build a structure that lets your kids feel safe, loved, and stable in both homes. That means asking different questions. Not, how do I get more time? But, what schedule actually works for the kids' routines? Don't ask, how do I prove I'm the better parent? Rather ask, how do we design this so they don't feel like they're being split in half? Never ask, how do I make sure they know I did more? Instead, how do we both stay present and involved without turning every exchange into a battlefield? The shift here is that you stop thinking in duration. Start thinking in completion. Completion means, did the kid feel safe today? Did they get to school on time? Did they feel loved in both homes? Duration means, did I block off more calendar time for me? One of those approaches builds a functional co-parenting relationship. The other builds resentment, courtroom battles, and kids who feel like pawns. You get to choose which one you're building. Now let's talk about the custody exchange, because this is where the factory mindset shows up every single week. In a functional marriage, there's a ritual when you come home from work, a shift handoff. You walk through the door, you decompress, you transition from work mode to home mode. Maybe you change clothes, maybe you sit for 5 minutes, maybe you ask, how was your day? It's a ritual, a structured transition between two modes. Post-divorce, every custody exchange is a shift handoff. Your kids are moving between two homes, two routines, two parents, two emotional environments. And if you don't design that handoff intentionally, it becomes a minefield. Here's what happens without a ritual. You show up late. They get annoyed. They criticize how you dress the kids. You snap back. The kids sense the tension. They shut down or act out. One of you tries to have a conversation about scheduling. It escalates. You leave furious. They leave furious. The kids leave confused. And next week, you do it all over again. This is the factory mindset in action. Cold, transactional, resentful. Clocking out with no care for the transition. But you can design a clean handoff. And a clean handoff protects your kids and preserves your sanity. Here's how. 1. Make it boring. The exchange should be so predictable that it's unremarkable. Same time, same place, same neutral tone, no surprises, no drama, no emotional unpacking. 2. Script it. Literally write down what you'll say. Keep it to 5 sentences, max. Hi, here's their bag. They ate lunch at noon. They have homework due tomorrow. See you Sunday. That's it. No commentary, no critiques, no attempts to improve how the other parent does things. 3. Use a neutral location if needed. If you can't be civil at the doorstep, meet at a park, a library, a parking lot, somewhere public, somewhere neutral, somewhere the kids can transition without absorbing your tension. 4, don't debrief in front of the kids. If you need to discuss logistics, do it via text or email later. The exchange is not the time. 5, let them go. When your kids leave with the other parent, let them go. Don't cling. Don't text 10 times. Don't interrogate them when they return. They're allowed to have a relationship with their other parent without you managing it. The shift handoff isn't about you, it's about them. And if you can build a boring, predictable, low-conflict exchange ritual, you've just eliminated one of the most common sources of post-divorce chaos. So here's the takeaway. 1, make the invisible visible. If you're negotiating asset division, document your contributions. Not to win, but to ensure a full picture. 2, abandon the ledger. Stop negotiating to prove who did more. Start negotiating for what you actually need to rebuild. Let go of the audit. Focus on the future. 3, design custody for stability, not score. Stop fighting for each hour, day, week, month. Start asking, what schedule serves the kids' routines, their school, their emotional needs? 4, script the exchange. Write down your 5-sentence handoff. Practice it. Make it so boring that it's predictable. The factory broke your marriage. Don't let it turn your divorce into a nightmare. I like to point you to the link in the notes, to the free guide AJ prepared for such situations. Don't get steamrolled your first 3 moves after they declare divorce. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.